a couple weeks ago. How did they treat you?
It was a sublime experience when I was arrested. Because, you know, there's actually freedom in the handcuffs.
Yes,
Just like Mumia Abu-Jamal is one of the freest men in America, been on death row for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
See the dialectic that I'm talking about?
That's right.
There's freedom in the handcuffs. And they put the shackles on the ankles too. I couldn't break dance, but I still felt free.
All right.
Because I knew I was standing up for something.
Yeah.
Standing up for something. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Now, when we went in, that was a fascinating experience, as you can imagine. Got 22 of us in one cell. And we got a lot of brothers and sisters. This is Chocolate City. This is Washington, D.C. And there's some brothers in there who didn't have both paddles in the water. And we had a lot of mental illness. And we love our mentally ill brothers and sisters. But you had a lot of mentally ill brothers and sisters. So when I walked in, brother looked at me and said, "Brother West, I just want you to know, I am the mayor of Washington, D.C. I said, "That's cool with me, brother. That's fine, that's fine." He said, "I'm going to make you the honorary deputy mayor." I said, "That's cool too. We work together." And within 3 hours, we ended up having a rich dialogue talking about why many of us were in jail voluntarily and why many of them were in jail involuntarily. And we created the bonds that our common humanity came to the surface in that cell. Of course, it was 25 hours when he changed the various cells in that regard. But it was a beautiful thing. And in Harlem, when we got arrested with stop and frisk, you all know about stop and frisk policies in New York City. 700,000 young people have been stopped and frisked.
Right.
Only 4% of them arrested, 87% black and brown. And they say, "Oh no, it has nothing to do with race." Yes, and I'm a star in the National Hockey League. I ain't got nothing against hockey, but you know I'm not a National Hockey League kind of player. NBA, that's something else. But it was that sense of solidarity in the cell that made a big difference. And what is so magnificent, there has been thousands of folk who have gone to jail since September 17th, just in America, let alone around the world.
That's right.
And anytime you make that kind of move, you let folk know you're serious. That's what's so beautiful about it.
How do we get the media to carry the truth instead of the corporate lies?
Yeah, how do we get the media to tell the truth rather than corporate lies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, the corporate media produces clever gimmicks of mass distraction.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
They continually downplay the truth.
Yeah.
And what do we mean by the truth? Well, the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. There is no truth in your life, in your family, in your community, in the nation, in the world, unless the voices of suffering are heard. That's why they have a business page in the newspaper, not a labor page.
That's right.
Well, if you really want to talk about the suffering and hear the truth in America, then let's have a page on the prison industrial complex. Let's have a page on poor children. Where are their voices? Let's have a page on working people. Let's have a page on the sisters dealing with cowardly brothers engaged in domestic violence.
Right. Yeah.
Let's have a page on our gay brothers and lesbian sisters and others who get spit on because they choose a sexual orientation. That's the kind of page we need to have. We're going to talk about truth.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the Occupy movement is all about. We want a space in America, given all the mendacity and mediocrity and mean-spiritedness, that allows suffering to speak so that when we smile, it's connected with our struggle against that suffering.
Right.
And so how do we do that? You have alternative media. Thank God for Sister Amy Goodman. Oh, Sister Amy, we love her. Thank God for Brother Travis Smiley. We love the brother. Oh yes, we got some alternative. I'm sure in Seattle you all have. You got alternative media right there.
I got it.
You got it right there.
Gotta go right now. Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I had a question.
Yes, good question.
Last night, the Seattle Police Department engaged in some rather brutal tactics against Occupy Seattle, to include pepper spraying an 84-year-old woman, a pregnant woman, and 2 members of the clergy. Do you have a message for our political leaders who would use police as tools of oppression against the 99%?
I would say they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
And in fact, we need accountability, we need answerability, and they need to take responsibility for engaging in that kind of obscene, immoral activity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, my brother.
So this has been going on for a long time in Seattle, right? And we have our, quote, Office of Professional Accountability.
Oh, yeah, repeat the question. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Come on up.
By the way, I have a shout out to you from Tom Hartman. He said, hello, give him my regards. Okay. We love you, Dr. West. So we have this problem with police accountability all over the country, right? And they keep telling us that we have a civilian police review board here, which does nothing to bring about justice in our community. Our brother, a Native American woodcarver, was killed here, John T. Williams, okay? He was executed by a police officer. That police officer is not being tried. He's not being charged with any criminal charges at all. So what can we do as citizens to make sure that our city council and our mayor and our police departments give us a voice and give us accountability? Because it's not happening, and no matter how hard we try, no matter how many times we go to the ACLU and to the city, it never happens.
So we occupy.
No, I hear you.
Wall Street.
Occupy.
Well, I appreciate that question. Yeah, I mean, it's, it is difficult because so often the way the system is designed, that it doesn't provide the kind of space for justice to be done. And yet at the same time, I do want to salute the A&L, the libertarians who are fighting the AL, what is it you mentioned? The ACLU. They play a very important role. They try to create some wiggle space to at least keep the issue visible, so it comes to the surface. But they know they're cutting against the grain. We need more community organizations to keep the issue alive.
So the Seattle Police Department is under Department of Justice investigation right now for racial profiling and excessive use of force. Right now.
Is that right? From the Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
Oh.
It's a federal investigation.
It's a federal investigation. But that can be a positive thing because that generates tremendous visibility. I just wish that my dear brother Eric Holder were more vigilant about these kinds of things. If he was as vigilant about police brutality as he's vigilant against WikiLeaks,
Yeah. Woo!
we'd be in good shape, wouldn't we?
Free Bradley Manning.
Oh, yes, they got fired up on WikiLeaks, didn't they? Yes, but another question. Come right on.
So, you mentioned love, and what I want to emphasize, or what I want to ask is, when you say love, are you phrasing like UEP Luther said, love for the people? When we're talking about love for the people, that means we'll fight, we'll kill and die for our people, or Care Bear, Gandhi's love? I just want to clarify that.
No, I hear you. No, the Care Bear's got something going on there. No, I say that because I got a daughter and I read Care Bears too, just keep that compassion flowing. Like Charlotte's Web, you know what I mean? You got that, keep that compassion going. Is that right, my sister? No, but when I talk about love, I'm talking about the most difficult, the most dangerous, the most subversive force in the world. Because when you're talking about love, it means you have a steadfast commitment to the well-being of others, and you're willing to do what it takes to ensure that their humanity is always affirmed. Always affirmed. That's what I mean by love supreme. When John Coltrane talking about love supreme, he's just not playing the saxophone. He's talking about his heart, his mind, his soul is a steadfast commitment to make sure that the well-being of all of humanity is elevated, and the best he can do is play his horn, just as the best we can do is occupy at the moment. Now it shifts from context to context. It shifts from context to context. Somebody like Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu, They are radical pacifists. So love for them always takes a form of nonviolence. Our Quaker brothers and sisters have the same tradition. It's a great and it's a grand tradition. Now, I happen to be a Christian, but I'm not a pacifist. So I believe in just war. I would have fought against Hitler. Hitler's a gangster. He's trying to dominate the world. I got to slow down. I would have fought against apartheid in South Africa with Nelson Mandela. Still out of love, though. Still out of love. And so you see how the love has different traditions. It's manifest in different ways. A rich pacifist tradition and a tradition under which, under certain circumstances, you have to defend yourself, and under other circumstances, you fight in the context of serious engagement.